Hey there, today we're going to go into how to do this kind of vintage stamped text look for Photoshop. There are quite a few steps to it, but it does allow you to get these kind of neat effects that you can use for old looking images like this one, or t-shirts, or whatever you want to use it for. Let's close these. And you will first want to start by creating a new file. Easy enough. So let's see, I probably don't need anything that large. Let's go 2000 by 1000. Once you create your new file, you want to start off by adding an adjustment layer. So just go down to your adjustment layers, select solid color, and make it white. Hit OK. Now what you want to do is add a new blank layer on top of that. So just go new layer. We want to convert that new layer to a smart object. So a quick tip here, notice when I right click on the layer, on the little icon there, it doesn't give me the option of smart object. If you have that, it's because you need to kind of roll over to the text portion and then go convert to smart object. A little bonus tip there for you. Now what you want to do is double click into that, and notice what it did here is it created a new file. This is where we're going to do our text at, and the reason you do this is it will help later on. You can save this PSD, come in and change your text up all you want. Just click your type tool and type in whatever you want. So this particular font is one that I downloaded. It's kind of got a cool old look to it already. If you want to know how to download fonts and install them in Photoshop, just watch my video that's on that subject. I'm going to change it from this cool old looking font because I want it to be more obvious the changes that we're making. So I'm going to use something like this that's just a nice solid font with no texture in it already. Hit save or control save or option save if you're on a Mac, and you jump back into the main file, and notice now we see that text on there, the vintage text. Now what we need to do is add our texture. So the thing to do here is just go online and do a search for ink textures or background textures, whatever you want to look for. There's a nice site that does different textures that you want. In my case, I already downloaded one. So I'm going to jump into my downloads folder. There's my texture. Pull that up. And what you want to do here is we don't actually want to import it into Photoshop. So just right click on it and go copy. Then jump back into Photoshop. Now what you want to do here is create another layer mask. And you want to Alt click or Option click into that mask. This will cause your text to go white. That's exactly what we want. And now just do a Control V or Option V or whatever to paste the texture in there. And you know you did it right if you look at the little icon in the layer mask, and you'll see that it's in there. If it pasted above it, then you did something wrong. Now what I'm going to do is just kind of move it around. You want it to cover the full screen. And I'm going to change mine sideways just a little bit. Stretch it out how I want it. Hit enter. Now I've got that background texture the way I want it. Click back over, and notice now we have the texture behind it. So we do have a decent amount of pixelation here, but I'm not going to go and download another one because I'm already partially into this tutorial. You see the process, and that's the important part. Notice, however, though, there is a lot of kind of white in here. It's really kind of hard to see. So what we want to do is invert the black and whites on here. So I'm going to go back into the mask, go Image, Adjustments, and then Invert. And notice what it did is the text is now much more visible. You can see it a lot better. And what you can also do is just click on it and move it around as well if you want. Now what I want to do is go back in and make some adjustments because it is still kind of a little hard to see. So I'm going to add a levels adjustment, and using my histogram, let's darken this up a bit more. There we go, much easier to see the text. So just a little bit in there, perfect, just the way I want it. Next thing we want to do is get that kind of stamped effect, and in order to do that we need to create some edges around this. So what you do is go back to the layer that has the text on it and duplicate that. I'm going to temporarily hide the layer underneath it, so just click the little eyeball. And what you also want to do is you want to remove that layer mask. We don't need that anymore. So just click on the mask, right click, and delete it. Once you've done that, go to your layer styles, the little FX icon underneath here, and we want to add a inner shadow. It's going to pull that up. First thing you need to do is go up to blending options, and in the advanced blending, drag that all the way down to 0, and notice what it's doing to the text there. We can actually see the edges now. This is also why I'm using this text, to make it more obvious. Jump back to your inner shadow. If your opacity is down at all, you want to take that opacity all the way up to 100. I'm going to leave my distance at 0. I'm going to increase the choke a little bit to make that edge nice and sharp. Let's go 20, I think. And let's increase the size just a little bit to get kind of just that little bit of shadow coming in. Once you've got it where you like it, once again, this is just kind of based on visuals. You can always come back in here and change it up a little later date if you want. Hit OK. Now go back and turn the little eyeball on. And notice, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, notice how we can really kind of see that outline now. Let's, without it, with it, without it, with it. So it looks a lot nicer. You can also do other adjustments here as well if you want at this point, such as maybe you want to apply some sharpening to your background. All you need to do is select that texture layer and then go filter, sharpen, sharpen more. Notice it's nice and sharp now. I actually don't want mine sharpened, so I'm just going to do a quick Control Z to undo that. But that's kind of, if you want to make adjustments to that particular background, just click on the layer mask where it is, and then make your adjustments if you want. Getting close to the end here. Now what I want to do is put all of these into a group. And so you just click all the layers, little menu here, and go new group from layers, name it whatever you want. I'm just going to leave it as group 1. I'm leaving my fill color in the back because that's I'm going to keep that separate. Now let's say you want to change the color of the text. This is something you can do here. Sure, we could go into here and do it, but it's much better to do it here, and I'll show you why. So in order to do that, go to a new solid color adjustment layer, and let's pick red just to make this really obvious. Click OK. Now what you want to do, once you've selected your color, we need to make, obviously we can't see the text, so what you do here is Alt or Option click and kind of hover around until you see, notice this little arrow pops up. So without the Alt and with it, so that's what you want. What this is going to do is tell this color to apply to just that layer underneath it, just that text layer. So once you have that, click on it, and notice now we've got this vintage red text. And the nice thing about this is, of course, you can change it whenever you want. So let's say I don't want red anymore. I can just double click on it and change it to blue. And same thing, if I want to go in and maybe I don't like that background texture because of the pixelation on it, you can just go into that group and replace that with another one. This is why we're kind of setting it up this way in order to do all of this later on. So if I want to potentially just have the text on its own, simply hide that background color layer, and I've got the text on its own, and I can place it over whatever I want. In this case, let's say I'm going to use that same old castle picture. Okay, I'm just pulling it up in Photoshop, doing a Control-A, Control-Copy, jumping back over to, there we go. Notice what I did, pasted it underneath the group, or moved it underneath the group, and I'm just adjusting it to where I want it. Looks good. Blue looks terrible. So let's just change that back to black. And you can still do all kinds of fun adjustments and changes. So for example, if I click on the group, I can change my blending options. Maybe a soft light. That looks kind of cool, to where it's kind of a little harder to see there. And if you want to change the text at any point in time, you just go into that group, double click on the layer where the text is. It's going to pull that up, and you can rewrite. Hit save, jump back into it, rewrite. Okay, hopefully that's all clear and reasonably easy to follow. And if you did like it, found something useful in it, be sure to leave a comment, thumbs up, share it with others. I'd appreciate it to know that I'm taking the time to do this and people are getting some use out of it. Thanks.